Hello everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of a show I'm going to call Crate Digging, for lack of a better title. So this will be the show where I get to show you a few peeks into my record collection and talk about the music that I like to listen to and the kind of things that inspire me and many other people, hopefully. Hopefully I'm not alone in my tastes or just a weird person. But anyway, in our first episode, I showed you a couple of things that came in the mail. Well, three things, which I just ordered from Discogs. So those were three new editions. And since I don't get records in every single day, today I want to start off with a couple of things that I've had for a little while longer, but which are nonetheless really, really good. This is one. So I'd like to start off with one that I got a few months back. I think this was actually a Christmas present. I think everyone who is into vinyl, everyone who is into rock will recognize this cover. That is, of course, Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everyone who's into vinyl or everyone who's into audiophilia or whatever it's called, has this record or has talked about this record, or, you know, people are all over this record or something like that. And so a lot of people are probably saying, oh, he's just a poser who's trying to fit into the whole vinyl craze with the hipsters and everything like that. No. No, I actually really like this album. And really, I liked this album before I knew everything that was on this album. Because for years I would hear all kinds of songs that were on this album individually. Just not as an album. So I like a lot of their songs, but never realized that they were on here. So, yeah. So basically when I realized a few years ago that all of them were on this one album, I said, I should get that album. But I guess I never bothered to, for some reason or other, to actually listen to the whole thing for several years afterwards. And then finally I had to just get it. And, yeah, the rest is history. So, yeah, but this is an album that has gotten a lot of attention lately. There's been a lot of reissues of this. A lot of reissues of this in audiophile pressings and just all kinds of deluxe remasters. I know that there's one that's like pressed on really heavyweight 180 gram deluxe vinyl, virgin vinyl. There's one that's mastered at half speed, so you get all the really detailed, crisp sound that audiophiles demand, who, you know, pay thousands of dollars for speaker cables and things like that. There's one that's mastered as 2 records at 45 RPM, so that there's supposed to be more information passing by the stylus for every second than 33 RPM. And people say that that makes a difference, which it could. I haven't heard a full album at 45, but I got this pressing. This is actually, I believe this is a 80s pressing, 1985 on there. I'm not sure how early or late in the run that is, but it is from when it originally came out in the first few years there, and it sounds really, really, really good. Really enjoyable sound. The quality of the vinyl is really good, like it's in really good condition. Very little noise, practically no pops or hisses throughout the entire thing, which is good because I got it used, and so I was really impressed with that. And it's released on Vertigo. A lot of the ones I've seen have different stuff on the inner label, so that they have different designs. This one has the Vertigo Records V on it, so it's just standard, but that doesn't take away from the music. It's still the same album, and it's really cool. So I really like this. It really is a classic of not only Dire Straits, but just rock in general. It really is a milestone, because pretty much every single song on here is great. Just look at the track listing here. We got So Far Away, Money for Nothing, Walk of Life, Your latest trick. Why worry? Ride across the river. The man's too strong. One world and brothers in arms. You could play pretty much any one of these on the radio, and it would be awesome. It would be well received. You know, this whole album is just solid. It's really some of Mark Knopfler and the rest of the band's best work. This is when they really came into their own. This was the album that really broke them big. And for good reason, because it really, really is an impressive album. So much great guitar work on here. And as I said, it was really well mastered. This one was actually, if I can get out the string, was mastered by Bob Ludwig at Masterdisc, New York. And that is a really well-renowned engineer. Bob Ludwig done tons of things. Masterdisc is also really well reputable, to say the least, sound studio. So really did a good job on that. His work, the quality of the work on the recording really shows through. Mark Knopfler, as I said, does an amazing job of guitars and vocals, shows that he can really play, especially on this one, Money for Nothing. Of course, what can you say about Money for Nothing? It's just a complete classic. So Far Away starts off the album. It's an amazing single, and just the whole first side is just a collection of great radio songs, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a good way, because radio songs aren't always bad. It's very good. So yeah, basically, yeah, you start out the album with the longing, dark and longing, not so dark, but kind of longing romantic song, So Far Away, longing for love. Money for Nothing is, of course, awesome guitar riff. Nothing compares to that opening line there, and just everything about it. I want my MTV and all that. Really, just a great milestone of the times for music. Walk of Life, also great. Really great organ work, keyboard work there. Your Latest Trick, great jazzy tune. Why Worry? It's good. It's not my favorite, but I like it. It's got a really great message. It might drag on a bit. It might go on a bit too long, but I like it. It's good. It's good. I can't argue with the message. So basically, yeah. So side one is nothing but solid jams. And of course this one, nothing. And of course the advantage to having the whole album is that nothing is edited. I know here in Canada, Money for Nothing encountered some trouble in the last couple of years, in the most absurd way possible in terms of censorship, because anyone who knows Dire Straits or knows this album is gonna know that Money for Nothing, there's a line in there where Mark Knopfler is singing in character as a blue-collar delivery worker, and he's supposed to be watching MTV and saying that little faggot with the earring and the makeup, that kind of thing. The little faggot got his own jet airplane. And obviously, colorful language and kind of offensive, but somebody somewhere in Canada complained about that, I think like almost 30 years after this came out, and because of that one complaint, the CRTC, the telecommunications regulatory body in Canada, basically banned the unedited version of Money for Nothing for a couple of months. It was banned for a couple of months before they finally realized how stupid it was that they should ban it. That's not what it meant. Mark Knopfler himself was not saying that complaining about somebody being a little faggot. He was singing in character, and that is the most infuriating thing about people who complain over this kind of thing without even thinking about it. Just said, "Oh, that could mean something bad, and somebody might somewhere be offensive." You know what? Not that it. I mean, it's just the most mind-boggling thing when somebody complains and gets things censored for this trivial thing without even understanding what's going on. But I'm rambling. That's just, something that irked me. Anyway, so the other thing I like about this record is that the album really plays well to vinyl, because it seems to me to be divided into two acts. So on side one, there's a lot of brighter, more rocking, more open, and I think more accessible tunes, and more upbeat tunes to it, and a lot of more casual and down-to-earth material. So then on the second side, when you flip it over, it becomes much more darker and much more focused on a common theme, and that theme seems to be about corruption, social unrest, political upheaval, and generally a lot of songs about issues in the world. I know Right Across the River is about revolutionaries in Central American country during like a socialist revolution or something, and it's very effective first person kind of narrative going on in that song. Same with The Man's Too Strong, about from the perspective of a person who's been in a leadership position in a banana republic, I believe it is. Someone who's lived through corruption and has been tainted by it despite the best intentions. And these are really two really strong pieces that are get their message across very subtly and work really well as protest songs and as social commentaries. And also musically very, very creative. There's a lot of Latin influences on Right Across the River that are really well done, not overbearing, blend themselves very well into Dire Straits' style. And also the guitar work also on The Man's Too Strong is very subtle and very effective, especially when you get to that first chorus and that riff, right when he says "the man's too strong," and that riff hammers in. When I first heard that on headphones, the volume swell, the crescendo was so sudden and so sharp that it was actually like, whoa, like blew you back a bit. And it was really impressive and really effective, and it's very dynamic sound, very great. Yeah, so really impressive stuff. Also, that one world afterwards, kind of a return to the form of the first side, which is more accessible, more shall we say radio friendly, but not quite, because it's still talking about how we can't get along together and how people, we have problems in the first world, but there are so much bigger problems elsewhere in the world. And again, very subtle. And when you first listen to it, it doesn't sound like that kind of song. It's, it has a twist to it. And then, of course, you have the big ballad at the end, Brothers in Arms, which also features amazing guitar work again, bluesy guitar work that's so famous of Dire Straits. Lots of slow building, brooding tension, lots of thunderous things, very atmospheric, and just amazing to listen to on a good sound system. Really impressive on a good sound system. You really get the feeling of being in those mountains that Mark sings about, and really looking down over a valley and really getting the sense of that fear and that longing for a better world. And I think that's kind of what ties the theme of this together is looking for better things in this album. That's my English major side coming out there, analyzing them. But there's nothing wrong with that. But very impressive album. Very, very impressive album, and you know, famous for good reason. Famous for good reason. So I would highly recommend that if you haven't heard it. Get a good quality version of it. You know, don't just stream it in 240p on YouTube. You know, go and get a good version of it, even if you go to go on Groove Shark or something like that where they have lossless files. Get it in a good format. It'll sound great. You'll be impressed. And next up on the bill we have 21, the album by Adele. Yes, Adele's album 21 is probably the album that got everyone into Adele. And it's a bit of a different choice, especially back to back with Brothers in Arms, but that's just how I roll. Now, I first heard of Adele basically because of this album. This album, of course, was just a big monster of a hit when it came out in 2011, and several of the songs were just everywhere immediately. You couldn't escape it. And when I first heard it, because, you know, she was a female singer and singing about loves and everything like that, and heartbreaks, at first I didn't really take it too seriously and just said, oh, she's just another singer who's heartbroken or that. But that was kind of just prejudice on my part. It took a while before I started kind of listening to the songs more in detail that she put out, and it took me a while longer to realize that this woman actually is putting out music with real heart and soul in it. She's not just another cookie cutter pop singer girl group. She actually, you know, there's so much feeling in these songs, and she's actually the kind of artist who will, you know, write her own songs. She co-writes all of her songs. Not that you can't be taken seriously as a musician if you don't write your own songs, but there's just something that makes it that much more personal. So basically, I heard more and more of this, and as I heard more of these songs, there she is again, lovely face. As I heard more of these songs, especially Rolling in the Deep and Set Fire to the Rain, the ones that everyone knows, I really realized that, you know, wow, this is a really, you know, there's some really good stuff on here, and very, very soulful. There's like really good Motown influences and really creative Motown influences on this. And by creative, I mean that she's taking the kind of 60s Motown vibe and other R&B and soul influences and making them her own and modernizing them. And I think that's the reason why this album, even though it was released in 2011, lends itself really well to vinyl as a format, because it really is a combination of the old and the new, and it really has that, it has the air of a classic 60s soul album. Like, it's almost like getting a Donna Summer or a Aretha Franklin record, you know, like one that has like 6 or 7 pop songs and ballads and things on it, you know, that kind of heyday of soul. It really lends itself well to that. And the more I listen to it, I think the more I realize that, you know, I want to experience this record and I want to actually like keep it. So that's why I got it. So this is one of those albums that I got into for a few songs that I knew and liked, but then gradually really got to like all of them. There's a lot of strong songs in this record, and really not any weak ones. It starts off with Rolling in the Deep, which everyone knows by this time. It's become too famous for its own good. Rumor Has It, which has an amazing bass line and really drives the emotion. It's like, it's so heartfelt but also so danceable, so it's just great. turning tables fills you up with feels, and it's just a very heartbreaking and passionate song, which makes sense because this album was recorded at a time when Adele was going through huge amounts of heartbreak and breaking up with different people and kind of like pouring her heart out onto the page as a kind of therapy or something. So yeah, a lot of these are very, very heartfelt songs. That experience really comes through in these. Don't You Remember? I really like this one because it has a very creative old school vibe to it. It reminds me, her voice and her style there almost reminds me of early period Rod Stewart, but of course with a female voice, not obviously. Reminds me of things like Maggie May and other ballads like that, and that's really good. Mellow, reflective, longing, like that. Set Fire to the Rain, amazing song. The piano is what really grabs you on that one, and the chord progression on the chorus and everything like that is just I don't know if it's calculated to target your heartstrings or what, but it works. He Won't Go is a really nice light conclusion to the side one of the album, reflecting on a relationship and trying to make it work. But then side two starts off sad again, and you know, telling someone to just take it all. It's about a breakup. So very up and down on the emotions with this record, which I guess is kind of like a real breakup. I'll Be Waiting, Getting Back Together, One and Only is Looking for Love. These are both really great. Very upbeat. This one's very upbeat. Very confident. This one is more asking and seeking, and it's got that really classic soul and R&B sound. You know, could totally see Aretha Franklin singing these ones, and Aretha Franklin actually did do a cover of Rolling in the Deep, which was, of course, must have been an incredible honor for Adele, and it was really effective. And Aretha Franklin, of course, steals every song that she sings because she's just so good. So the album continues then with Love Song, which is a cover of, I forget who actually originally wrote the song, but that's very nice. Has a very nice Parisian folk atmosphere to it. Lots of nice strings and muted drums in there. And everything on here is leading up to kind of a positive note at this point. So you have Love Song, which is saying no matter where we go, I will always love you, and it goes on. It's very nice and peaceful, and so you're thinking that maybe it'll build up to hope, but then right at the end it comes crashing down with the final song on this, Someone Like You, which is just the biggest heartbreak song around, and so many feels. So it's kind of like, it's a very sad way to end the album, because you're feeling, you're starting to feel good over here, and then suddenly, never mind, I'll find someone like you. I wish nothing but the best for you. And it's just, oh, suddenly feels unexpectedly. Anyway, but I know on the extended edition that's not the last song, there are other bonus songs, but I'm talking here about the core of the album, the main songs. It's such a very sad way to end the album. But, oh well, not that it's not great. So on the inside, we have our nice little jacket. There's a picture of the woman herself, dressed nice and casually in her socks. I like those with her drink. This is a very nice sleeve. Goes back to the vinyl heyday of the 70s and 80s, where you'd get this kind of thing on there. Really nice photography here and credits on there. Yeah, and as I said, the sound quality on this record is really great. Very warm and full and present. You can really hear all the nuances, and it really feels very intimate. Really fits the tone of the songs. The vocals they're a bit prominent in the mix from what I've heard, based on my impressions. They can be a bit sharp at times when you're listening to them, but other than that, it really is a warm mix and very nice sounding, very beautiful, and really nicely done overall. And again, that's why it lends itself very well to vinyl. And Adele has actually been, so they say, very into old school recording techniques. So I don't know if this was actually recorded all analog from tape onto vinyl, but I wouldn't be too terribly surprised to find that out, because it seems like something that would happen. Mastered by Tom Coyne at Sterling Sound, New York. Very good facility as well. Mastered a lot of records there that are very good. And vocals by Adele. She has a lot of her band. It's a lot like a classic kind of solar pop album where you have different session musicians and everything like that. So very old school in that sense. Yeah, very nicely done. The record itself, nice. It's not 180 gram vinyl, but it feels more like 120, 130, kind of middleweight. Yeah, the vinyl, as I said, is very good quality. Nice and quiet for the most part. When I noticed that there's one point on side A where there appears to be a little tick somewhere in the pressing, which I noticed, and which creates a bit of a kind of a click in between Don't You Remember and Set Fire to the Rain, which is a bit of a disappointment, but it's certainly not anything that would take away from your enjoyment of the music, and is not there long. It's not very prominent, so that it's all good. Yeah, really great quality pressing here. It's got a bit of static on it right now, so there's a bit of dust, but I make sure that's all wiped away with my cleaning brush, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, so overall, really well mastered album, really finely produced disc, and if you're interested in getting into music on vinyl and you want some current artists that are on there, I would definitely recommend this pressing, because it sounds really good. It's on XL and records, and really nice release, really impressive. So very good soulful reflective work. I think I'm trying to think how I could compare it to Brothers in Arms. They're kind of random, and I just picked these because I was interested in these two this week, but I don't know if I could compare them. I know that they're both in some ways reflective and brooding albums, although one is more brooding on society in general, and this one's more about relationships and personal problems, but both are kind of reflective. Or maybe they don't have much in common at all. I'll leave that for you to decide. But anyway, those are a couple of more records that I enjoy, and I hope you'll enjoy them too. So until next time, have a great one. Hey, if you like this video, you should subscribe to my channel so you can see more. There's no risk either, you can always unsubscribe. This isn't Columbia House Records. And if you understood that reference, thank you for joining us, people over 30. Anyway, just a thought, thanks for watching.